Good morning, afternoon. I still can't decide what time it is. We are live in a very special location. And as you know, I'm a big fan of nature and how much nature helps us feel good. So while we wait for Rory to join us here on Insta Live, I'm going to just give a moment for this beautiful location that I have found.
That was quick.
Fancy that. Fancy
That was
you here. This is actually the first time me and Rory are meeting in person. Fancy that. Hi! Can I have one of those? So exciting. First time we are ever together for our Insta Live Tiny Talk here every other Tuesday. This is the amazing Rory, osteo, from the UK. And I am Mesma from the UK, yoga teacher and coach.
And I have arrived in Lisbon to see how things may go from here onwards, see how things will work out.
And by coincidence, I'm also in Lisbon, seeing how things may go and how things may work out.
Amazing coincidences.
And today, what are we talking about, Rory?
Well, I have to say first of all that I'm dyslexic, as usual. And I put my prompt sheet to make sure I get all the words in the right order, of course. So we're talking about hyperventilation. So we have a lot of fresh air around us.
We have a lot of fresh air around us.
Which is great. I like to start with fresh air because it's all around us. And we have what is perceived as the fresh air that we get energy from, which is the oxygen, which is exactly what we do get to create energy, but we also need carbon dioxide. It's not a waste product until we start exceeding an optimum level, which is rare these days actually, and there's ways to test that. We've talked about this sort of process before in the previous talk, so check those out. So we're not going to go deep into that, but basically the CO2 is really, really important for the uptake of oxygen in our tissues. It's like the changing of bus drivers on the red blood cells, if that makes sense. So the oxygen can't get off until the carbon dioxide can get on, and vice versa. Carbon dioxide has to get off for the carbon dioxide to get on at the lungs. So if we've got low CO2, then we are our tissues and brain and organs are all getting starved of oxygen a little bit, and or a lot, depending on how far the process of hyperventilation goes, which is basically a way in which we breathe too fast, too quickly, based on stress, things like this. So we don't take enough time. A lot of people don't take enough time to breathe slower, lighter, not faster. Not necessarily, they talk about deep, but deep as in using your diaphragm, but not wide and fast. And we're talking about subliminally, subconsciously. You can do all these things consciously, and that's different. So it's all very interesting.
So I have a story for you. I've only ever hyperventilated one time in my life. I was about 12. I just moved to secondary school from primary school. I grew up in Kent, in a little tiny town called Faversham, and I moved to a school in Canterbury. And they had a swimming pool. This was just a state school, by the way, but just in that area. We still, when I grew up, we still had grammar school, so I was going to this grammar school. And there was this outdoor swimming pool, which already for me was like my idea of a nightmare in September, like moving towards October, cold. And we were told that we had to swim, we had to do half a length. That was the rule for this gym class. You had to get across the pool. And I got into the pool, and basically the cold was so excruciating that I just couldn't breathe. Like, it felt like my my rib cage was stuck, and like there wasn't any space for air to get in, and I was like, I just have to make it across the other side of this pool, thinking I was going to drown actually. And then I finally got out, and I hyperventilated, and that is why I'm so scared of cold water, and I do not do cold water. but yeah, that was my first experience of hyperventilation. And to kind of like flip it, I always like to flip things. I talk a lot about making lemonade. I later read about the Wim Hof technique, and that actually hyperventilation can be a good thing. Is that right?
Well, this is the whole thing again, whether hyperventilation is happening on a low subconscious level and we're losing the CO2 over time. That is chronic hyperventilation. What you experience was acute hyperventilation, which you could recover from pretty quickly. And again, when there's ways in which these processes occur, and we don't know how to deal with them. So that's also quite scary. So the feelings of hyperventilation can ramp up even further, and the worry and stuff like that. So when you're in a safe environment and doing Wim Hof method, and you're doing the hyperventilation process of breathing, what that process is it's getting O2 in quickly. But the whole point is that if you were to do that and stop, you'd have blown off all of the carbon dioxide as well. So you get this oxygen rush, but if you keep doing that, you're going to lose too much CO2, and then you'll start to get the problematic hyperventilation. So it's controlled hyperventilation in a conscious way, and the conscious processes allow any type of breathing process. You can do any kind of breathing if it's conscious and deliberate, and it's not done for too long.
So even hyperventilating, you can consciously hyperventilate. It's making me wonder if there's a connection with breath of fire, which is a Kundalini practice of breath.
Absolutely. Kapalabhati.
Kapalabhati, yeah.
Kapalabhati. Yes. And again, the thing is with that and the Wim Hof method, they are processes of getting also Kapalabhati is also a really great lymphatic pump, so we can talk about that and do a demonstration of that at some point. But that's also that's draining everything. So it's conscious, it's automatic, and it's safe, and it's totally different to freaking out, brain freaking out, and feeling like you're suffocating. So, but the thing is, with the Wim Hof method, you've also got breath hold work in contingency with it. So you're doing the hyperventilation process, but then there's long breath holds to balance out the CO2 afterwards, to draw it back in again, to be able to access that oxygen you've just hyperventilated to get.
Oh wow! So
if that makes sense.
What would the effect of that be? I'm like imagining what the effect might be of that, and actually kind of almost like an ecstatic state in what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what people like about the Wim Hof method. And I think that the thing is, with it, what they talk about with the Buteyko breathing practitioner method, Dr. Buteyko looked at how CO2 was really essential for the human organism in the early 1900s, and he did a lot of studies on this. And so he would say that you shouldn't do that if you're trying to address some kind of problem with hyperventilation, because you're already hyperventilating. You need to change your subliminal conscious breathing patterns. But that's not to say that you shouldn't go towards. I personally think you shouldn't go to be scared to go towards something too. So it's like if you're always cold and you don't like heat, then if you stay away from heat, you're going to stay cold in a way.
Connecting this to my story, do you think that means that I should maybe go in the cold water?
It's in a safe environment. Again, it's totally up to the person, but going towards things that you don't feel comfortable around can actually keep your nervous system challenging and help you as well. So I often will say to someone, if they are completely scared of cold and they've got issues with pains, aches, fatigue, then the cold actually helps the nervous system to contract and get the lymphatics going. So that's going into the Wim Hof method a bit more, and we should talk about that another time.
I would love to, and I do cold showers. Like at the moment,
there you go.
At the moment, I kind of suck at them because I'm not good with cold. So
Yeah.
you get out of the cold and you're in cold. But in the summer, I'm
Okay, right, yeah. So it's
so
about balancing it back down again, but going towards it can be really useful. And I love cold showers. I don't do them all the time. I'm going to be honest, but there's periods where I do, especially in the summer, to prepare for the winter. So then I know that I know what cold feels like. And again, if you stay away from something, you'll become more sensitive to it. So bear that in mind. So that's really important. So again, the brain gets used to less carbon dioxide over time, and it becomes a problem. But you don't know it's a problem because the brain's really good at just getting on with what it's focusing. So that you become more sensitive to changes in carbon dioxide levels. So you will become more out of breath more quickly. So the whole point is the breath hold work is so important. And the way to test it is with the control pause, and I think we talked about that before. A lot of information. We talked about control pause, I think, before, which is about how you test how long you can hold your breath for comfortably. And it's not about how long you push for, but you just see how comfortable you are to hold. So
we played with that 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
I played that game.
Oh yeah, TT5.
Yeah.
Tiny Talks 5. So yeah, that's we covered those things, and
as we are in this beautiful place in nature, what we thought would be really cool to do some getting active right here, right now, right? To do a little bit of a demonstration. And Rory, I believe that you have some practices up your sleeve that I think you've got experience in.
We talked about last time when we were doing Sebastian about Tiny Talk 6. That we talked about, you showed me about Sebastian, which wasn't a place, it is a place, but it's a place inside you, which is great. And I've realised that the lying down and resting in yoga, Sebastian, is very much like achievable standing up straight in the Qigong stance.
Ooh, I'm going to sit down there.
Okay, so what's great about the Qigong stance is that it's one of the most efficient ways of resting the body, actually, apart from lying flat down. So it's really good for your breathing, rather than sitting closes up your belly. So if you're sitting, and again, that's not to say that sitting in yoga is a problem. I'm just saying that the belly can open up easier when you're standing to do meditation. So if you want to just stand with your feet hip width apart, if you've got space to stand up now, and just unlock the knees ever so slightly, so we're not dropping down so our muscles start to tense up. In fact, if you drop down and then slowly come up until you don't lock back, but you just slowly come up until you feel at ease and your knees haven't locked back, but they feel comfortable. That's good for your knees, it's good for the muscles, it's good for your balance, and you can sense where you are in space and relax the muscles at the same time. Because when you lock back, you're actually very, very, you can be unstable. Ready, Ella?
I am ready.
Okay, so dropping your knees down a little bit and just slowly rising up until you can't feel your knees anymore, but you haven't locked them directly back. Just to the point where they're almost going to lock back. And then relax. Once you've stopped thinking about doing that, then just stop and relax and wait. And then at the same time, we do that again now. Now you know what that feels like. Drop back down again. You're going to roll up Roll the shoulders up a little bit and round, and open the chest at the top here a little bit. Roll it back. Let the collarbones drop down onto your rib cage. Okay. So you've got your knees floating in space, and you've got your shoulders now opened up. You drop back into your heels this way. That means that hopefully the joints, tilt your head slightly down, the joints in your spine are opening up slightly back now, which gives the muscles more space to relax. So you're finding your balance. And if it feels sort of uncomfortable, like you're concentrating, just try to roll back, give yourself some time, and then take a slow, very light breath. It's not trying to rush the air in. You're just going to go. You can use your hands to help slow it down if necessary. Relax the chin, but not tilt it down too far. And then breathing out, using your hands again. You just start to be able to feel your whole body as a more of a unit now, because you've gone into a balanced state. You can sense balance across the whole body and the muscles. Breathing in, breathing out. So you can practice limiting the amount of air you're blowing out too quickly or rushing the air too quickly in. Let's do a couple more breaths. You can bob slightly, so as you're breathing out you can sink slightly with your knees. If you're finding it difficult to stay not tense, then just move a little bit with your whole body as a unit. Fall back into your heels as you relax. See if you can get that balance point to just let go of all the muscles. And now we've done a few breaths. Calming breaths. We've helped our vagal tone, which we talked about last week. We've helped the vagal tone to start getting stimulated for relaxation. So we can just drop our hands a little bit. We open up the chest again, and just let the arms hang, so that the armpits are a little bit open, and we're holding our arms a little bit. But then you find that space, that perfect point of ease, where you can't feel anything. You can start to feel the tingling, which is your blood or chi or air, it's respiration of the cells, or whatever you want to call it. It's all in yoga. It's the prana. Feel the prana move, tingling, and that's what the thing you can focus on, the meditation process. I'm going to go silent now for just a few more relaxed breaths, and if you're finding it difficult, move. You don't have to try and stay still. It's all about the relaxed breath, light breathing, and dropping the muscles wherever possible. So you're only using the minimum amount of muscle effort to keep you in this position. And this is the basis of Qigong.
Amazing, thank you, Rory. I feel super calm and relaxed. We hope you do too. It's been beautiful to share this journey in this amazing place in nature. I hope even the look of the nature made you feel super relaxed. As always, we are all about wellness, so wishing you wellness and being blown off of the screen.